Welcome back to Let's Talk Baseball. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Herrera, joined by my good friend Jacob Payne. We got some stuff to talk about, some interesting stuff with the rules, how that's been working in spring training. Some sad news as a Dodger fan. Lux out for the season. What does this mean for the team? Maybe hopefully some Pirates talk at the end. We'll get into it. How you been doing, my man?
Been doing well, been doing well. Been watching the preseason baseball we've got going on. Been a lot of fun to watch. Very excited for the World Baseball Classic in about a week to get started. That'll be very interesting. A lot of baseball going on and a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm definitely excited for the WBC. I know you're going on the 11th, and I'm excited for you guys. Tell me how it's gonna be, but yeah, it's gonna be hype. Obviously. So let's get into it. Let's talk some Dodger talk first. As you know, it was the Padres game on Monday. Dodger Padres and routine fielder play to the third baseman, and the third baseman, I don't know who it was. I think it was a prospect. He threw it, and to avoid the throw, Lux kind of had to wiggle out of the way, and in doing that, uh, made the wrong step and tore his ACL and his LCL. Is out for the season. He was a guy primed for a huge breakout year. His stats line were projected for like 260, 318, as last line of 260, 318, and 818 with 17 homers. And now, I mean, thank God, like they made that Rojas trade because without that, I mean, I'm not saying Chris Taylor can't bring it up because he obviously can. He's done it before in 2018 when Seager had Tommy John. Um, but it's a question now, especially with a lot of these guys, a lot of these rookies that are coming up. They were the depth pieces, and now they're the starter pieces. And I feel like that depth might be something that is challenged this year, especially with Lex's injury. So we're gonna see how that how that all takes place. But for you, how comfortable do you feel putting Miggy Rowe or Chris Taylor out there 162?
Well, I do definitely want to start by just going over the injury, like you said. I think non-contact injuries are some of the worst in baseball. Um, they really tend to be the killers of players in terms of their season. Obviously, we see um that Gavin Lux will very likely be out for the entirety of 2023, and that kills me, man. I'm a huge Gavin Lux fan. I've been watching him um play in the Dodgers roster, and I've been hearing all the hate about Gavin Lux, as he's come up and been playing, saying that he's not ready for the bigs and saying that he is a horrible second baseman. I mean, people critiquing this kid don't understand what it takes to be a a pro baseball player, what it takes to be a pro second baseman. Like for somebody who's playing as a shortstop to go to second base, it's not an easy transition. Like of all the positions, sure, you can take a lot of what you know from shortstop and convert that to being a second baseman, but the movements, the plays you're making, where you have to go with the ball, what you have to be cognizant of is just completely different at second base. And so it's not that easy of a transition. So I feel like he has been getting a lot of hate, unreasonable hate. Within the past few seasons. Obviously, with this season, this would have been his year to start as a shortstop, playing the position that he wants to play and has been wanting to play his entire, baseball career. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the recording of Gavin Lux talking about his injury. He got a little bit choked up, and man, that hurt. That hurt having to listen to him talk about his dream playing shortstop specifically for the Los Angeles Dodgers and him not being able to live that out, at least not this year. It's a tough hit, man. And I think when you consider everything, it's a hit to the Dodgers, absolutely. I think it's more of a hit to Gavin Lux as a player than it is to the Dodgers. Because if you look at their depth right now, I think they're still a little bit comfortable with the fact that we have Rojas, Vargas, Muncy, Taylor. Of those four players, any of those four can play any of those two positions. And I'll be honest, if you pick any two of those kids out of a hat and throw them at either one of those positions, I would be very comfortable with them defensively playing shortstop and second base. So in terms of depth, I don't think it's that big of an issue for the Dodgers. It wouldn't surprise me if they go out and sign another shortstop before the beginning of the season, if they intend on using Muncy, Vargas, or Taylor elsewhere on the field. Um, but I don't think it's that big of a hit for the Dodgers in terms of quality defensive players and quality offensive players. It's a hit for Gavin Lux. Like I said, this was his year to play his comfortable position, and he's not going to be able to do that, at least not this year. So, um, brutal stuff to see it. You really hate to see it. I think as a fan of baseball, you hate to see somebody get injured so early in the preseason, in preseason in general. I mean, for somebody to get injured preseason and be out for the entire season, it really hurts, and it begs the question, why are these starters getting played so early on? And I think that's an unfair question. Um, I think that's unfair to put that on the manager because these guys got to get reps in. You can't save them for the beginning of the season and then just slot them in right at the beginning of the season and expect them to play well. They have to play their preseason games. They got to get their reps in. And this is just an unfortunate accident from what happened. Really nobody's fault here. I understand. I think Gavin Lux had a little bit of a misread of where that throw was going. I don't think it was particularly close, but in all honesty, I mean, it's not his fault. It's not the third baseman's fault. It's not the manager's fault for putting him in. It's just how the dice got rolled on that day.
Yeah, you hate to see it. He's a great guy. Just great vibe in the playhouse. I mean, you've seen dugout. Sorry, you've seen the clips of him laughing with his friends, the silly clips of him, because he's a young dude. He gets to have that energy, and he was gonna come out this year and really show us what he's made of at that shortstop position. And unfortunately, he can't, at least for another year. The injury bug has been hitting not only the Dodgers for quite some time, even this specifically spring training. A lot of guys were injured this spring training too, early on, and a lot of good guys that are supposed to help a lot of contenders make a playoff run. I know Musgrove is hurt, Glass now, so it's gonna be interesting. Of course, those, however, are 1 month, maybe 2 month injuries. Lux, he's out for the year, um, most likely. And it sucks as a Dodger fan. It sucks to see him for that. And I do agree. I think it will be tested more likely. But it's not like nothing we haven't seen before. I mean, going back the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, we've had a shortstop injured for a period of time. I mean, I know 2021, Seager was injured from like May to September. I know 2018 Seager, Tommy John again. And Taylor stepped up in those roles. Some other guys stepped up in those roles. And Taylor can definitely do it again. They were obviously hoping for a bounce back year for him. He's starting a new throwing program. And with to go off of news today, Hayward's mom. I don't know if you saw that in today's game. That made me happy, and if that keeps going, uh, I would be very happy to see Taylor at short, knowing Hayward can handle it out there offensively and defensively in the outfield. So that's right. This team is injury ridden. I mean, every team loses a guy once in a while. We've seen the Dodgers lose a lot of important guys over the past few seasons. Belly has had his injuries. Even Mookie has had his injuries. Kershaw, of course. These guys that are coming out, and usually it's not a big of a hit when you have MVPs all up and down your lineup. But this year, you're not gonna have that as much of a comfort. Still, you're gonna have guys that are still gonna come out for you and put on their best show, put on really good seasons. But it's not your Mookie, Freddie, Trey Turner, Justin Turner at the top of the lineup anymore. And that's why with these rookies, I think I'm excited for Vargas. I'm excited for Alman if he gets a chance. I'm so excited. And I think they're gonna do really well. But again, you never know what's gonna happen because baseball is one of the hardest sports to play. Um, so I think that's gonna be a really interesting storyline. This team reminds me of like kind of a 2017 team, and I'm not saying that they're gonna go out and win the World Series, but they didn't have there. It's not like a very, very, very flashy lineup, but all 1 through 9 on the bench, everyone in the pen, everyone on the rotation, they're getting the job done and they're having great years. And I feel like if we can just sprinkle a little bit of that here and there, maybe some, if we can get like, if we, I feel like Syndergaard, right? Everyone was primed him have a good season after Tommy John last year, and he didn't. He kind of rolled the dice and it failed. He's coming back to here, and I feel like once he signed that deal, I was like, okay, can we expect a sub-3 ERA from him? Because that's what the Dodgers do. And I feel like the more experience they have, the more the Syndergaard experience he has had. He's had a tick up in his velocity. We don't know what exactly it's been, but it's there. He said that's something he's been working towards. And if we can get anything near his prime years in the past, that would be amazing to help. Because of course we lost a couple guys. We lost Teeny. We lost Anderson. We lost some guys, and um, I think we're gonna be okay. I know the over under had us at 96 and a half games. I think I I was a little optimistically over with Lux's injury. I'm kind of questioning whether or not we will still be able to do that, and not even just from a defensive part, but from an offensive part. And no shot to Taylor and Miggy Rowe, but Miggy Rowe hasn't been the Silver Slugger all-star starting shortstop in his career. And the Dodgers are banking for a very good comeback season from CT. I hope he does it. I love CT. He's a great guy. But it's just really gonna be interesting. Who would you have there? 162, Miggy Rowe or Chris Taylor?
Um, as a Dodger fan, I would like to see Chris Taylor there. I think he's a shortstop by trade, and so if he wants the spot, I feel like he's got the reps to do it. I think he deserves the spot. Um, but I wouldn't hate to see Miggy Rowe there as well. I know he's been a great defensive um player for the Marlins, and I know his bat hasn't been there every season, but if he can make those adjustments and take up, I wouldn't mind seeing him at shortstop. But like I said, as a Dodger fan, as somebody who has watched the Dodgers, every season that I can remember, um, I feel like Chris Taylor is a very lovable character from the Dodgers fan base, and people would love to see him get his reps in at shortstop and be our starting shortstop for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I hoping for Lux speedy recovery. A couple of injury storylines for us coming in 2024. Bueller has a contract year after coming off Tommy John. So that's going to be interesting. Lux getting his first official year, probably at shortstop, hopefully again. Um, Praying for you, bud. Hope you get well soon. But I made a bold prediction last week of a trade deadline piece that the Dodgers might go for. And Brian Reynolds. And obviously that would help. That'd be a great offensive piece, like switch hitter, a stud, underrated stud. But now I kind of want to go back and change it based off perspective of what have things. I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but they've been interested. They've called this team in the past for a potential trade. I think the chances of Willie Adames becoming a Dodger have increased by tenfold. Just because of this trade. In my opinion, I mean, I just feel like Moreno's just gonna sell a bag and not trade Ohtani because I just feel like that's what he's gonna do. Unfortunately, as a baseball fan, you hate to see it. Even if I know that they have a lot of infield depth now with a lot of their signings. Maybe a Shohei Rengifo, a Shohei maybe Fletcher deal. I don't know to the Dodgers. That'd be kind of sick. But it's just, do you think this team goes out and makes another move, even if it's like a Didi Gregorius? Sorry if I butchered that. Right now in spring training, or do you think they try to? Do you think they go for a move at the deadline? Do you think they stay with these two?
Yeah, it's tough to say, right? Because in the past, when we've seen injuries, they have acted quickly. In fact, even the day of Gavin Lux's injury, we saw a minor league signing of a shortstop, and I think if I had to guess, I would say yes, there will be a move for a shortstop, and um, I think it will come in the preseason. If they are worried at all about their depth at shortstop, they will make a move before the season starts. In fact, they will make a move probably within the next 2 weeks because you want to get some reps in spring training if you're going to go for an early year move. That would probably be the ideal scenario. Um, if we were to push things off, and let's say we do bank on Miggy Rowe and CT3 and possibly Vargas or Muncy, coming into the middle infield, um, if we make those gambles, quote unquote gambles, and we see them not necessarily pay off, if they are maybe not performing offensively, if one of them gets injured, any sort of scenario that plays out like that, then we would very likely see a shortstop trade towards the deadline. And you know what? If the Shohei trade does not come through, I feel like a Willie Adames Corbin Burns trade would be a very likely trade because I know that the Brewers were shipping that package very heavily over this past free agency. At least those were the rumors. So I figure that trade package would be one that the Dodgers would look for in the event that Shohei Ohtani's not on the table. Um, if Shohei Ohtani is on the table and they're going for him, I would say that trade becomes less likely, and maybe it is just a Willie Adames trade. But I would say that would be a likely scenario in the event that our shortstops, our middle infield, does not work out in the first half of the season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think then one focus if he becomes available is Shohei. I think that would uh help the morale. I mean, not even just the morale. I mean, Dodger fans are going to come and support game after game, day after day. But just after the kind of rough offseason, we lost a lot of guys, a lot of homegrown guys, not even homegrown, but just close to the heart guys. You lost your JT, you lost Cody, I lost Trey Turner, who is a smile and a really good guy for this team. All best of luck wishes to their new teams and where they're at. Hopefully they succeed. Have the best time there. But it was tough, you know. It was like they've come out and said they're building towards Ohtani, and even if like let's say they don't do anything with Lux and they don't get Ohtani, like they don't get a new shortstop, and they keep with Miggy Rowe and TT, and they're not the greatest, they don't have the perform the greatest, and then they don't get Ohtani, how does that reflect this offseason? And I'm not saying, okay, well, not getting Ohtani is going to be the end of the world because they can still go out and sign guys. I know Blake Snell comes off the books. I know, like you said, Corbin Burns, he might be requesting a trade. I think that might be something that actually happens. He was pretty upset with the arbitration case, his loss with the Brewers. He's a very one of the best pitchers in the game, and he deserves a lot of love. And the Brewers since 2019 or since 2021, sorry, I forgot they made the postseason. Haven't they haven't been contending in a couple of years because of the fact that they just didn't do much to improve. And I like their moves this offseason. They made a couple of interesting moves, but I definitely think that trade package somewhere those two. I don't know if it's together. I don't know if it's independently, but I don't think by the end of the 2023 season they will be a Brewer. I think the Dodgers hopefully will get one of them, but of course it kind of also lies on where does Shohei end up at the trade deadline. I hope we get him, obviously. And going back to what I said earlier, the Dodgers, the over under was at 96 and a half games. Do you see this? Do you see this going over, or do you see this going under? I have my I have my opinions, but I want to hear what you think.
I'm very optimistic about this lineup. Like we've talked about before, I know people have been very critical with the way that the front office has handled this offseason, and that the lineup doesn't look as flashy as some of the other teams in the NL right now. You know, you got the Mets, the Phillies, the Padres, who are looking like super juggernauts. Um, but I really feel good about this Dodgers team, especially after what I've seen from just a few preseason games. I feel like everybody is looking forward to performing well this season. Our pitchers have been looking great for the few innings they've gotten some work in. Our hitters have been starting to feel themselves. We've seen Mookie, we've seen Freddie, we've seen Hayward get some nice bombs. We've seen Will Smith be a very contact heavy hitter, getting on base a lot. And we've seen some of our rookies come up and uh, swing the bat well. So I'm really looking forward to the season. Um, I'm having a good outlook on what this season would look like, and I would conservatively take the over on that 96 wins. I feel like they can get a solid 98, 99, maybe 100 win season this year, assuming a majority of them stay healthy and everybody performs.
I agree. I mean, I don't think it's going to be another 111 win team, but I do think Hopefully it's gonna be the over. Hopefully we do take that first place victory in the West again. I feel like the pitching, you got to lock him in. I know some guys weren't as on top of their game last year as you would hope they'd be. Sorry, Craig Campbell, but you kind of broke my heart last season. I was really excited for you. And the bullpen has been a question. I know they've given up a lot of runs this preseason, people have been asking questions about that. But when it comes time to start the season, when it comes time for Dodger baseball, I think the pitching won't be in question. I think they're gonna show up. I think the rotation is gonna show up. I think a lot of this season is going to end up on the lineup just because it hasn't looked like this, like not star filled up and down. Not star filled, sorry, just like flashy, like as flashy as the couple last years have been. But I do, you can dream upon this lineup, and I really like this lineup. Just looking at it prospectively, I know Trace Thompson, he's gonna get a full year under his belt, maybe in left field, especially now with the Lux injury. And I love him. I was there for his 3-run bomb. I don't know who was against, but I was like, there's no way he hits 3-run homer here. And then bam out to left field. And I ate my words. But yeah, and he was a stud last year, hoping he can continue that success. Hayward, if he can get anything near his shape prime of form, that's gonna be a really, really underrated signing, and I'm happy for him to get some playing time. I know he had a rough couple seasons with the Cubs. Mookie's gonna be a star. Freddie's a star. You got Smitty, Muncy, he's gonna be a star. Chris Taylor, I think he's gonna have a comeback season. Miggy Rowe, let's see what we get out of him. Let's get a couple more home runs. Let's get some good stats there. Vargas, I'm excited for him to see what he does. I think he's a very kind of dark horse rookie of the year, and I wouldn't be saying that if Francisco Alvarez and Corbin Carroll just didn't are gonna be in the year that are having their rookie season the same year. But I think he's going to be a really nice piece for this team. JD Martinez, let's get back to 30 bombs, but I'm calling JD Martinez home run derby champion right here. Especially with that big left log on out in Fenway to be able to drive him. I think that's going to help him a lot. Had a career high in doubles last year, so the slug is still there. And I've seen some adjustments from last year from his swing last year to this year, so let's see what they can do. But I'm gonna take the over with you. I'm an optimistic person. I always try to look on the bright side. Best prayers to Lux. Hope for a speedy recovery. Maybe if anything goes well, we see you at the end of the year. But unfortunately, it does look like we'll see you in 2024. I'm so excited for you, but I'm rooting for you. We're with you. All Dodger fans are with you. But yeah, it's gonna be. I think I'm. Of course, a lot of people have been. Dodger fans have been saying, "What are we doing?" I know at one point I said that because I was like, "What's happening?" Because I didn't know what was happening. What was the direction here? And I can see the clear direction, and I like it. From that point when I told you, I was talking to you, and I said I don't know kind of what to think of this offseason. And coming back and retelling that conversation in my head, I know where they're going. I feel like, and I like their moves. And what kind of ties in some of the rules, some of the what we're about to talk about, ties in Alexa's injury and kind of what happened. The new rules they've been interesting to see in this, to say the least, in this spring training. Obviously, you got the pitch clock, you got the 3-inch bigger bases, and you have the shift restriction. I think that was really going to help Lux because he is a guy who pulled a lot down the line. And I was ready to see everyone's average boost up. Joey Gallo, I love him. He's a dude, and I really hope he does well in Minnesota. Who's going to get help with the shift. The bases, I don't think they're going to be as big of a deal. Like I think if we're ranking the most important rules, like it got to be here, the bases at the bottom of the list. Not just because like it just is like a not relevant rule, but it's just like okay, maybe pickoffs are a little less happening, little less amount of actually seeing them, and we're already gonna see that with the pitch clock, of course. Now, only I think in that third pickoff attempt you have to get them, or else it's a balk. But what do you think about these new rules, pitch clock? Do you like it or not? Because that it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays.
Well, okay, so I want to touch on a couple of things. One of the things is the bases. I think you might be sleeping on that rule a little bit because how many times have we seen people get thrown out at second base, get thrown out at home by a hair, and I mean by a hair. And so if we see these bases get bigger and it's not by much, it's 3 inches on each side. But that is a little bit less of a gap that I would think would we would see the stolen bases tick up this season. In fact, we've already seen it in preseason. A lot of people are testing those catchers. Um, and part of it's catching them off guard. Part of it is working in that you can only allow 3 pickoff attempts per at bat rule. Um, but I really think that's going to come into play with us seeing more stolen bases this season, and I really hope we do because I think that's a great aspect of baseball. The stolen base I think is great. Don't get me wrong, I love to see pickoffs. I love to see pitchers be able to hold those runners on, and I don't like to see free bases. But the aspect of testing a catcher, getting close, having those close plays at second and getting more stolen bases, I would love to see those. Going to the pitch clock. I love the idea of the pitch clock. I really do. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the hate of the pitch clock. I was listening to John Boy's podcast the other day. I agree. I think it's a loud minority that hates the pitch clock. Don't get me wrong. I know there's adjustments to be made with the pitch clock. Um, and there's going to be, but like what they were talking about on John Boy, when you have a bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, tie game, and a pitcher box, game's over. Like you're not. It's not what everybody wants to see, but like that's a rule that we've lived with for the past I don't even know how many years. And we've come to accept that if a pitcher were to balk in that scenario, game's over. And same situation here, spring training, we have a pitching violation that ends the game, and everybody's freaking out that, oh my God, we're going to end a game on a pitching violation. It is no different than if we were to end on a balk. And we have those rules in place for specific reasons. We have the balk in place so that way pitchers can't make some obscene moves and then go back to picking somebody off. We have the pitch clock there to speed up the game, to keep pitchers, to keep batters in the game and not taking 50 seconds in between pitches to do whatever the hell they want. I mean, we've seen a lot of progress with the pace of the game. I mean, it's been moving, man. Like I've been watching these spring training games and they've been moving. Even with players on base, they're moving and like I said, I love it. I really love the change of pace for the game. I think it needed to get sped up. A 3 hour long game. I love baseball, Michael. I love watching baseball. Um, a 3 hour game's long. It's a long game. And anything over that is long and arduous. We watch those playoff games that sometimes go 4+ hours. And as a baseball lover, I will sit through a game like that. I will spend 5 hours to watch an extra innings game. I 100% will. Just your average fan who may not have any ties to the franchise probably won't. And so a big thing about MLB is making this more watcher friendly. And I think it's great. Uh, um, the all of the moves this offseason have been to get people to watch the game. More offense, quicker game pace. All of those changes are to get more viewership, and I think that's fair. MLB is a business. They're trying to make money. They're trying to get the most out of what they can, and so I think from that aspect that's fair. And we've seen the game evolve over the years. The strike zone has changed over the years. The player count at one point changed over the years. We see baseball evolve through these time periods, and so the pitch clock being enforced shouldn't be looked at as oh my God, they're trying to change the game. They're trying to change everything. They're trying to change it for the better. It's not like they're trying to single out certain players that take forever or whatnot. They're trying to make the game more fan friendly, more watcher friendly, and I really, really enjoy to see the progress that we've made and the good things to come these of these changes. And like I said, there's going to be an adjustment period, and that's what spring training's for. Everybody's freaking out right now. That's what this is for. We're supposed to see them in a professional setting and see how they work. And now is the perfect time for that. We should we should try and see every scenario that we possibly can from all these rule changes and be able to adjust them by the time season comes, and hopefully they're polished and ready to go for the regular season this year.
Yeah, I know that they had those 2 games. I think it was Rangers. I think it was Rangers. The Red Sox played a game. The Red Sox played a game. So sorry. The Red Sox played a game. The Rangers played a game. The Padres played a game before the actual official spring training started, just to see how these rules, um, how these rules came to be and how they changed the game. And of course, obviously you see at least an hour for each game shaved off, each game time, which I have my thoughts about. I'm gonna get into it a little bit. But another thing, kind of Manny Machado made history. The first person ever to have a pitch clock violation, because his strategy is just to get in the box and just bring his leg in a little late. And with the new rules, it states that they have to be in the box facing the pitcher with 8 seconds left on the clock at least, so that the pitcher has enough time to get into his line and throw the pitch. And he was like, I might be down at 0-1 a lot this year, something I have to adjust to. And it's I think we can all agree on that. It's something everyone's gonna have to adjust to, as a fan, as a player, as a pitcher, as a coach. I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how this divides players. I think some players are gonna be really happy with it. I think some players are gonna be not so happy with it, like Manny Machado. Like you said, I might be down on 0-1 a lot this year. Um, I don't know how I feel about it yet. I know I'm adjusting to it right now. I like baseball. Like you said, I'm willing to watch a baseball game 5 hours. I like to see more action happening though. If it's a 0-0 game and not a lot's going on, it's a great pitching duel. You love to see great pitching duels, but there's not a lot of offense. There's not a lot to get the crowd going. I like what the MLB's doing to try and bring that up. I don't know how I feel about it. I know I'm gonna like it eventually. I know I'm gonna be like, okay, this is good. But right now, just looking at it, it's just still weird to me, and it's gonna be weird for everybody. So it's something that, of course, we have to get used to. Another I love. Sorry, I mean I not love because I'm a Dodger fan. I hate the Astros, but it was kind of funny just to see how Luis Garcia's his windup now is illegal against the box. So that's gonna be like even interesting. Not even just like if you're gonna have that weird windup, but if you usually take a while to wind up. I know that's saying Kershaw's like a sleeper, but when there's runners on base, because he has a great pickoff move. He goes up here, it takes like a second to breathe. He might not be able to do that anymore. He might just have to throw the pitch straight. And I think it's going to affect a lot of pitchers in a negative way, somewhat in a good way. I think it's going to be overall. I think it's good for the game of baseball. I'm excited to see what that does inning per inning. I know that has been an issue people have been talking about. What's going to happen if it's the World Series? How are you going to end it like that? I think I wouldn't. I don't think they're going to end the World Series on that play. I just don't think I just don't think the umpires would do that. I don't think that would be good for baseball in any way, shape, or form. If that do were to occur, that happen, unless the Dodgers winning, and then I wouldn't be mad. But it's just gonna be an adjustment, and I know we've said that a lot, but it is, because point point blank, it is, and it's gonna be weird for a while for a lot of people. I'm excited to see how each team incorporates that and kind of exploits it in a way to kind of get their pitches off. I know I saw a clip of Max Scherzer hosing down Joey Meneses in 27 seconds. He is going to be a beast with this pitch clock. He is going to make the pitch clock his, you know what I mean. But it's going to be interesting to see how that works, how to see that all play out. Which of these rules makes you more excited for the future of baseball?
I really, really love the pitch clock. I do. I think it's a great addition. I know there's some polishing to come with it, but I think it's great for baseball. The shift ban, I'm kind of in the middle of the shift ban. On the one hand, I love to see more offense. And I'm glad to see lefties um their average is just gonna go up. I mean, we'll put it right out there. It's gonna go up. It will. And I've heard that ways to get around the shift, they're gonna play two outfielders in the middle of the regular positions, and then one of them's gonna be like that deep second baseman, shallow right field. Hey, you know what? If you want to do that and sacrifice a lot of area out there, that might be a chance that people are willing to take, but that might bite some teams in the butt. And so I don't know how I feel about it. Like on the one hand, I like that it's the goal is to get more offense. That's great, and I would love to see more offense in baseball in general. Um, but at what point is it a team's job to adjust? You know, we've seen the bunt go basically extinct other than the Giants. Um, and one of the things that I think is so underrated for lefties is the skill of bunting. Being able to bunt when there's a shift on. I mean, that's almost an automatic double if you can bunt it down the line. And so I'm upset that teams didn't utilize that more because the goal of baseball is a game of adjustments. And if they're going to shift on you every time you're swinging the ball because you like to pull as a lefty, then bunt it down the left field. I mean, it's not a hard skill. I'll be honest, it like learning to bunt isn't a tough aspect of hitting, but it's something you have to learn. It's something you have to practice. It's something you have to sharpen because if you decide to bunt against a high fastball, you're gonna pop out. If you decide to bunt against a low curveball, you're probably just gonna attempt at it and miss and get a strike, or foul it off. And if you have two strikes, you're gonna get called strike three. It's a discipline of baseball that's gone out of practice that I think shouldn't have, because you have left-handers that are getting screwed by the shift that just don't take that into account. So, um, I'm neither here nor there on the shift ban. I think in general, like you said, it's going to be good for baseball. I think it should have been up to the teams to make the adjustment, but you know, we'll see. I'd like to see how it plays out for a full season or two, and see what kind of things it brings to light in a regular season game.
I agree. I think we're gonna get some good clips, some funny clips of pitchers and batters getting really mad about this. I think that the ejection numbers might rise up this year, which is gonna be interesting to see. But I agree. The bunt is a really interesting part. I know a lot of guys. If you're a speedy guy, a bunt is something you rely on. Sack bunts for pitchers, even if you're not a pitcher, and if you're in that position where you need to come back from a deficit, you're there and you kind of gotta go. But the Giants have been the kings of the bunts for the past few years, and I've loved the way that I hate the Giants, all my heart, but I've loved to see what they do because it's really funny to see how other teams react to it. And this pitch clock, this shift restriction, I'm excited to see averages go up. I've been calling it for a while. I know with Lux's injury, he can't do it anymore. So now my backup option, Cody Bellinger, 2023 MVP. It's gonna happen. I'm calling it. I'm manifesting it. He's gonna win MVP out there in Chicago, then come back for 330 10 years to the Dodgers. Telling you right now. Hopefully not. But it's we're gonna see how that works. Didn't get to some Pirates talk. We know we've been talking about it. We'll definitely get into it next week. Maybe some Phillies talk. We know they've been making a lot of moves. And some extension talk has been happening, especially specifically with the Rays. They've always been an interesting team to see what they do. Will their lack of spending catch up to them? I personally think so. We'll talk about that next week. Um, I'm joined by my good friend Jacob Payne. I'm Michael Hura. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time.